now tuned in to the cold, hard truth. Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips@caymanmarlroad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands. Miracle Brokers is back. That's right. We're fully reopened and back to work. Our agents are here to serve you with all of your packing and shipping needs. Need to move? Don't worry. Give us a call today. Collect a package, shipping around the world, or straight to Cayman? You got it. Give us a call on 949-5989. Collection by personalized appointment only, where our dedicated agents are on standby to personally assist you. Don't forget to wear your mask, maintain social distancing, and one person per appointment. Check us out at miraclebrokers.com today.
Good morning. Trying to figure out why I have no video. Give me 1 second here, folks. It's possible that you're hearing me, but for some reason, not seeing me. Give me a quick second. Let me try to figure it out. How is everybody? All right, good folks, there we go. We are live and direct. Give me 1 second to adjust my camera. I keep telling people I need to get my studio sorted out so I don't have to keep doing this every time I gotta go live, right? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Yes, let me adjust it just a little bit more. I need a new camera. Like, I gotta get some stuff going here. So let me see who is here for the morning tea. Good morning, Jackie. Good morning, Miss Morna. How are you guys? Happy Monday. Can you believe we are midway through the month of July already? Next month is a big month in our household because we have birthdays to celebrate. My birthday and my daughter's birthday are both in the month of August. Tania joining us from Jamaica. What's up, Tania? Tell us what's going on in Jam. How is it there? It's a beautiful day here. Did you guys hear that there is another Saharan dust cloud apparently headed our way? It's crazy. But yes, it's coming. Let me just grab a tissue here. I feel that, I don't know if it's the dust clouds or what, but my sinuses for the last couple of days have really been irritated and just congested. Jacqueline, thank you so much for tuning in. Good morning to you. Gadiel, good morning, darling. Cecile is here for it. Yes, you could hear me but couldn't see me. A little something quirky was going on with the camera, but never mind. We got it all sorted out. Charles the Killer Whitaker. Winter Haven, did you leave? Oh my gosh, Charles, I had no idea you left. Aw, you left us. Wow, why did you go back to Florida? I mean, there is no safer place to be right now than in the beautiful Cayman Islands. Florida, my God, it is unbelievable. But Florida has over, let me just pull up the news here. When I saw this yesterday, it's like every single number that they hit, you think, okay, they can't get any worse than this, right? And it just keeps getting worse, and it just keeps getting worse. I mean, when they hit like 10,000 or nearly 10,000 a day, I thought, right, that's it. They cannot get any worse than that. And guess what? It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So over the weekend, Florida hit a new record, not just for Florida, but Florida hit a new record for all of the United States of America. It shattered a single day record for new coronavirus cases. You cannot believe what is happening in the US right now. The Florida Department of Health has reported at least 15,299 new COVID-19 cases, the highest number of new cases in a single day by any state since the coronavirus pandemic started. The record-setting number from Saturday was reported by the state on Sunday morning. Jeez, that just blows my mind. Imagine it's just crazy. It is absolutely crazy. Oh my goodness. Irvelin, good morning. Charles says his kids are there. He's got to be there with the kids. Child, I would have tried getting them into Cayman instead of going the other way. Elizabeth, buenos dias. Morna wants to know, how did he get there? Well, I know he didn't swim. So remember, there are flights, repatriation flights that are going back and forth out of the Cayman Islands. There's been an Indian flight. There's another Filipino flight that's coming up. There's a couple Miami flights. There's been some Jamaican flights. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy, right? Now, that would be bad enough. The 15,299 plus, because it's always more than that, new cases. But listen to this. There's something called the test positivity rate, which gives them an indication of how rampantly the virus is spreading, has reached 19.6% as of Sunday, according to the Johns Hopkins University, which apparently is a significant number. And more than half of the states in the United States of America are all dealing with increased rates of new cases compared to last week. So this is nowhere near flattening, declining, like nothing. Wow. It's crazy. And Americans continue to ignore, we keep seeing these videos in circulation where they ignore all of the suggestions of social not suggestions. I mean, I think they're supposed to be law, right? I mean, there's supposed to be some kind of mandated stuff, but I guess not because they're not enforcing anything. They reopened, as we know, most of the United States, because everyone says that it's better to reopen and not have people starve to death. I don't get it. People are dying from COVID-19. So they're not going to die because they're starving. And I don't know if they would have literally starved, because honestly, they could do food drops in neighborhoods to ensure that no one was starving. But everyone said, oh, you had to get the economy back to normal. You had to jumpstart the economy at all costs. And I still see people having this argument about the economy versus health, and how the economy is so incredibly important. Now, listen, nobody's saying the economy is important. We've all got bills to pay, mortgages and so on. Thankfully, some of the banks have been a little bit understanding during this time, and they have suspended some of their loans for a period of time. But how does reopening the economy and having it spread to this extent really help anyone? There was a young man, 30 years old, over the weekend. I think it was Friday or so that he died. And he said that he thought it was a hoax. And again, folks, I am flabbergasted at the number of people who actually believe that the coronavirus is still fake, despite what's happening all over the world. And I had someone right here in the Cayman Islands say to me last week that not only is it fake, but it is politically motivated to make President Trump look bad. So this is all about President Trump. I mean, his supporters have to really believe in some serious conspiracy theories, which they do, apparently. Because she said to me that this virus is going to disappear in November after the general election. So the presumption is that that this virus is going to cost him the general election, because they already see the writing on the wall, right? Which, I mean, given how ridiculous Americans are, I don't even know if that will be the case. A lot of them will still support him, will still vote for him, regardless of what he does. Remember, he's the one who said he could shoot someone and he could shoot and kill someone and he would still be elected. He is absolutely right. I mean, these people still vote for him. So I don't know, but I guess they're feeling like they're a little bit on shaky ground with the pandemic, that people are going to vote differently because they're afraid for their lives, which they really should be at this rate. Yeah, and this person honestly believes that this virus will disappear after November, the implication being that it is a hoax. And, I don't want to say this because I don't know, people can't help their own stupidity or what, but a person like that, I would wish that they would I don't want them to die or anything, don't get me wrong, but I do want them to get the coronavirus and to suffer just a little bit, to see what innocent people around the world and in the US have gone through with this virus, so that they can stop talking nonsense. Like, they're the type of people who deserve to get a smidgen, if there's such a thing, of COVID-19. But of course, this disease is ravishing. There were several articles over the weekend talking about the impact of the virus, even if you survive. I mean, they're going through and they're having a look at what this virus does to the body. And they're finding that more than anything else, of course, everybody thinks it's like a respiratory thing, right? And this is what we've been talking about for quite some time, about how it attacks the respiratory system. And it definitely does that. But on top of that, it does so much more, apparently. So there's a whole slew of evidence that this virus is not only now probably airborne, so in other words, they are these micro droplets that are kept in circulation in the air, but also that this virus does an unusual number on the human body. And they're still trying to piece it together and understand exactly what is going on. But what they do know is they're conducting autopsies on people who've died from COVID-19, and they're seeing things that they've never seen before. And one of the odd things is the number of blood clots in the body, not just in the lungs, but like all over the entire body, which is like really weird. So they're still trying to understand a lot about this virus and why it does the things that it does. And throughout that process, they're asking people to just try to be cautious, stay home. Don't go out unless you absolutely need to. But we see that people are simply not paying attention. So the Florida numbers are alarming for so many reasons, including, of course, every time we fly to the US, we're flying into Florida. Even if we're just doing a repatriation flight, there is some degree of risk. I don't know the logistics right now of when we fly into Florida on a repatriation flight. Do our employees need to disembark at all? I would hope not. But remember, there are certain protocols that the authorities in the US, Border Control, for example, as well as FAA, would probably require of us. So it's possible that they may still be forced to go through some security in order to take passengers on board. So they may have to disembark the flight so it can be sanitized and cleaned in the one direction and then get back on. And everything they do there obviously poses a risk, because you can imagine if over 15,000 persons have tested positive in a single day. Imagine the folks that are asymptomatic and that have not even been tested. All of this, as President Trump went golfing yesterday, he says that apparently he is exercising. That's his form of exercise. So, not good. But we'll be watching the election for sure in November. Right now, President Trump has dropped significantly in the polls, and a lot of Democrats are feeling optimistic, put it that way. But so much can change that you just never know, right? So Brazilian president has tested positive, and he's another hot mess for president. He's another one that was ill prepared, told his people don't worry about it, didn't even put any quarantine measures in place as far as I can remember. I'll confirm here in a second exactly what he did do. And it's astonishing that all of this is happening in the world. And you've got world leaders telling their people, don't worry about it, go out and party and have a good time. Nicaragua, I mean, the reason why their citizens are stuck here is because they closed the airport very, very abruptly. Cleveland says no audio, but I think everyone else can hear me. Cleveland, so refresh your stream, please. I think I would have gotten a lot more comments by now if people couldn't hear me. Yeah, so Nicaragua, their government was like, No big deal. Don't worry about it. Go out and party. They were actually telling them to go out and party. Not only were they not locking down the country, educating the people, saying, this is what we need to do, handing out masks, none of that would be bad enough. But then to tell people to go out and party, have gatherings, continue to go to your football games, continue to gather in large numbers. You have to wonder if the people in these countries are not trying to, like the leadership, the government, are not trying to kill off their own citizens. I mean, that's the only logical explanation. Honestly, it is the only logical explanation that I can come up with. It has to be that they're trying to kill their own people. They're trying to do some sort of, population control exercise. Now, that's a conspiracy theory I could well believe in because nothing else makes any sense. Why would you be telling your people to ignore the provisions that are in place just so that what would be the end game? I don't even know. Well, whatever the end game is, it wasn't a good idea. They're not doing any testing really in certain countries, so they can't even tell you what the numbers are because they're refusing to test. And so what that means is they're blindly just moving through the world. No indication of how they're going to control the virus, nothing. So at the last minute, when we were going to send back a few Nicaraguans, they decided to immediately shut their borders. And the irony of that situation is that up until that point, they were courting tourists to come into Nicaragua. And then they leave their citizens stranded all over the world, including the Cayman Islands. It's sad because, at the end of the day, as Caymanian people, we're not going to let anybody starve. I mean, let's be honest here. Right? So we will do our best to make sure that they get the bare minimums, food and shelter. That is our humanitarian duty. Regardless of how you feel about these countries, it's sad that, the people might have to suffer as a result of the poor decisions of their own governments. So they're not the only ones in the world. The Americans, Nicaragua, Brazil has been another country that has just ignored all common sense. And Brazil has seen the numbers spike. I think they're now number 3 in the world. We're going to pull up some figures here in a second. So the situation is not good in Florida. Every single headline from the Washington Post to CNN to whatever, I don't know what Fox News says, but I'm sure they're not able to lie about the numbers either. It says Florida shatters single day infection record. Shatters. They went up from a previous high of 11,694 held by California last week. And New York had a high of 11,571 on April the 15th. And Florida has gone up to over 15,000. So an assistant professor of biostatistics at the University of Florida, I think that's the one in Gainesville, right? USF is Tampa, because I went there. FSU is Tallahassee, and UF, I believe, is Gainesville. I always get UF and FSU confused in terms of the location. Like, I always just have to think about it even when I was in university. But I think University of Florida is in Gainesville. So this professor, assistant professor of biostatistics, said that with Florida largely open for business, they're not expecting the surge to slow down. Say what? Not good. Texas also being hit hard. People are calling for their governor, Greg Abbott, to impose a statewide stay-at-home order. And they have said, not only do we need a stay-at-home order, but we need to stick with it this time, because the hospitalization curve, until the hospitalization curve comes down, not just flattens. So remember, everybody was talking about flattening the curve. They're saying here now that, listen, this situation is so dire that flattening the curve is no longer the goal. We need the curve to come down, especially hospitalization, because the situation in the hospitals is that they have no beds. They are, I think it's like 40 something Florida hospitals are at a breaking point. Like they have no beds. They're turning in these, like they're taking regular beds and turning them into makeshift ICU areas as much as they can. And sadly, what that means is a lot of, other people who may not even be sick with COVID, but need critical care, they need hospitalization for other things, they will also suffer as a result of the pressure that this outbreak is having on the hospital system and the healthcare system. I see some of your comments coming in. Morning, Jake. What's up? Jake is at the gym. Be careful, Jake. The gym is one of the top hot spots that you can catch the coronavirus for a number of reasons. So be careful. Wear gloves and wear a mask. I can't imagine working out in a mask, though. That's got to be like the most uncomfortable thing in the world. I wouldn't go to the gym if I were an exercise nut, which I'm not, obviously. Don't laugh at me. But I would do stuff at home. Make yourself a home gym. Get some cans of tomatoes or something and just start pumping. Go outside. There's lots of fresh air out there. Walk on the beach. My gosh, we've got some of the most beautiful beaches in the world. You would not catch me in a gym, because I can tell you, gyms are one of the germiest places in the world outside of coronavirus. Like that's where you have staph infections and all sorts of nasty stuff going on. It's impossible to keep a gym as clean as you would think. I mean, there's just germs all over the place. So be careful. CNN said this morning it's 18,000 in a day. Wow. Well, Charles, I need to get my updated information. Obviously, these are numbers as of yesterday. Whoa. Not good. Good morning, Rosanna. How are you, beautiful? Tania says her sister works in Florida and has to be working from home. Oh, that is scary. Good morning, Linda. Tania says she's open to an interview. Tania, private message me. WhatsApp 324-1612. By the way, folks, do not forget, you can always reach us on WhatsApp. And you can also email us. tips@caymanmorrow.com. We get a lot of tips on different things. So Tania, reach out. Let's see if we can book her to come on, please. Tomorrow morning, we're going to have MLA for Georgetown Central, Kenneth Bryan, coming in the program. So make sure you guys mark your calendar for that. Jared, good morning, honey. Jennifer says, my state is less than 5% and my county is less than 2%. There are tons of people that think this virus is a hoax. Most are politically driven in their belief that the liberal Democrats have created this as a hoax, all the way from China, no doubt. Just plain ignorance. These people argue. None will tell them what to wear or where they can and cannot go. It's so sad. Cleveland Swaby says, poor leadership. Good morning, Sean. Then they call it the flu and spread it around. Yeah, Allison, it's crazy. Jennifer says they have also found that people asymptomatic are now showing other health issues several weeks after contracting the virus. Their super spreaders are now have symptoms months later. And you know, this whole concept of there's a possibility that you could develop some sort of immunity. So everybody was like, oh, let people get it, let it spread. You're going to develop herd immunity. Not only are they seeing that that's not really happening at all, but in addition to that, it seems like whatever immunity you're getting potentially from this virus is only going to last a few months, which means that, you know, if there's a third wave of this, you could have gotten it in wave 1. And by the third wave, if you survived the first wave, you will be, or potentially you could get it again. So this virus is like nothing that we have ever seen, to be honest. And so, I mean, I kind of can understand why people might think it's a conspiracy theory, because they're like, where did this virus come out from? We haven't seen anything like this. But folks, we've been here before. Every single virus, the AIDS virus. Remember when I was really young, when the AIDS virus started? I was a kid. But I remember all the hoopla about the AIDS virus. People were afraid of touching other people and, oh, they might get the virus from this one and that one. At first, they thought it was a homosexual only disease and only gay people had it. And then when it definitely was mainstream, you know, anyone that tested positive, they were afraid to even let people know, because there was this whole discriminatory thing with HIV positive individuals. You know, don't touch them. You can't drink from a cup. You can't do this. You can't do that. And look at how far we've come. Just about a month ago, I was watching a video interview on YouTube about a young lady who, unbeknownst to her, was dating a young man who had been positive his entire life. He's born because of his mom with HIV. So his mother had it and he was born with it. He never told this young lady. He dated her and many others apparently. And he never told her about it. And so she contracted HIV from him. And she's living with it. She's taking her antiviral drugs. Not only that, but she is, since that relationship, she is married, had, I think, 2 or 3 kids. None of them were HIV positive. So she was successfully able to give birth to them without passing on the virus. Her husband obviously is fathering her children. So that means they're in a sexual relationship. And he's not HIV positive. He also takes a medication that, in the unlikely event, because they're doing all these other precautions, they say, but in the event that he came in contact with the virus, he's also taking a medication that would help him not catch it, if that makes any sense. So her viral load is almost non-detectable. By the way, speaking of HIV, have you guys heard that they think that they actually have the first case where they have cured it in someone? I saw this article last week and I meant to tell you guys about it. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to find it again. But you know, now they have people who are aging with HIV. They're living a life being positive. So they have an HIV positive person, it says here, who was the first in remission, is what they're calling it, without a transplant. And it's so interesting how all of this stuff is kind of tied in. right? So there's a 36-year-old man in Brazil who it appears has been cleared from an HIV infection, making it possible, they now say, in principle, that a novel drug strategy designed to flush out the AIDS virus of all its reservoirs in the body can work. So this man received an especially aggressive combination of antiretroviral drugs and listen, these words, nicotinamide, I don't know what the heck that is, which is a vitamin B3 concoction. He went off of all HIV treatment in March of 2019 and has not had the virus return to his blood. Now, you know, they knew that you could bring the viral load so low of the HIV virus that in fact it was literally almost undetectable for the tests that they have. But that meant that you had to keep taking the antiviral drugs. And so what has happened in this case now is this man has gone over a year of taking no antiviral drugs, nothing, after previously being tested for HIV. And now is showing nothing in terms of a positive test result. So this is kind of a landmark case. We're going to keep an eye on that to see how that flushes out. But the most interesting thing about HIV and COVID and how they're connected is because a lot of people are using some of these antiviral drugs to treat or to try to treat people with COVID. And those would traditionally be used for HIV patients. It's actually putting a strain on that whole situation as well. So access to HIV medication is greatly impacted now by the outbreak of the coronavirus. So countries are getting desperate and they will try anything, including the US, in hopes of treating people. So 73 countries have warned that they are at risk of stock shortages of antiretroviral, I think that's how we count, or it could be antiretroviral, antiretroviral, I think maybe, ARV medicines as a result of the COVID pandemic. That is 73 countries around the world. So the World Health Organization has issued a plea in regards to this ahead of International AIDS Society biannual conference, apparently, that's coming up. 24 countries have reported either critically low stock of ARVs or disruptions in the supply of these life-saving drugs. So every little thing is just like interconnected, right? Louis from Detroit. What's up, my man, Louis? Good morning. Jennifer says they have also found that people who are asymptomatic. Oh, yes, we read that already. Sorry, Jennifer. Louis says no regard to evidence worldwide. These cats are using up their 9 lives. Top of the morning to you, Cayman, Sandy, and the CMR crew. Thank you. Louis says he is waving from his COVID-19 free garden. That's right. Stay home. Gadiel says he believes it's population control. You know, the thing about that, though, Gadiel, is whoever developed it, if that theory was correct, clearly has no common sense, because if you were going to develop a virus All right, let's just think about this for a minute. To control the population, wouldn't you want to just target specific members of the population? Like, why develop a drug that could take out anybody? Presidents, rich, poor, whatever. Like, it kind of doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Now, listen, I'm not saying that the Chinese might not have been in a lab playing around with something and it accidentally got released. But there are way more effective means of controlling the population than this. Heck, you could just put birth control in the water. I mean, that would be a better way of trying to control the population. This is not just population control. This is going to wreak havoc on entire economies around the world, and it already has. Every economy is going to go into deep recession as a result of this. So population control and destroying the world economies at the same time would be a tall order for anyone. Not knowing even within their own countries and with their own jurisdictions how they will survive this. This would be the most reckless version of population control, because you're not controlling this conspiracy at all when you just let a virus go. Roger says Jim Jones style. You guys remember Jim Jones? He made them drink the Kool-Aid, and they all drank it and died because they believed in this man so much. Towards the end, a lot of them didn't believe, but they had no choice but to drink the Kool-Aid. And that, I think, in itself could be a lesson for all of us. Why would the US open before the first wave even finished? Because, Gadiel, look at the president. He doesn't care. I mean, he has expressed things that have made absolutely no sense at all, from using disinfectant, like injecting it or drinking it or digesting it or whatever. And his followers have said, oh no, that's okay. He didn't literally mean that. I mean, everybody saw the video for themselves. He refuses to wear a mask. Over the weekend, that was the first time he went into a hospital environment, apparently. And that was the first time he wore a mask, I think. And there was even one picture someone sent me where at one point he still had it like underneath his nose. His nose was exposed. The only thing that surprises me about the situation in the US right now is the fact that President Trump hasn't yet caught it, because there have been numerous people in his administration that have had it, in his cabinet, in his inner circle, whatever. They have had it. So the only thing I find shocking is this man doesn't have it yet. And it's really only a matter of time, to be honest, that he will get it. But, he has gone against the World Health Organization. He has gone against his own medical experts, Dr. Fauci. He has said all sorts of stuff that makes no logical sense. And the people are still believing him. So when you ask a question like, why would the US reopen? It's like, everything that they have done and demonstrated says to me that they are risk takers to the 9th degree. They simply do not care. And so when you have people that are that lackadaisical about their own health and their own well-being, when you hear us talking about the fact that, oh, we have to find a way to reopen our borders, and people here are anxious to reopen our borders, my question becomes why? Why are we so anxious to reopen our borders when that would mean undoubtedly opening up to the United States of America? We have no choice. We have to fly into Miami, right? And they're sneaking into Canada. They're trying to go to other countries to vacation. They're going into Jamaica. They're going into other areas in the Caribbean. I was reading this article, I think I shared it with you guys maybe on Friday, where it was saying that everybody with common sense, the European Union, Canada, all these people, Mexico, they're all like, nope, no thank you. If you have an American passport, you're coming from the US, we do not want you in our country. And they're still trying to sneak through back doors, going in private planes and just showing up, thinking that because they have enough money that somebody's going to just allow them in. Unfortunately for them, that's not happening. And so the question becomes, what would be, number one, what's the purpose of us reopening? If 80% of our visitors are normally from the US, 75, 80%, whatever the percentage is, it's the vast majority. So we reopen and we tell them don't come in, then what's the point of reopening? Even in the UK, they do not have this under control. I think they have the second or third highest death rate in Europe, or is it around the world? Give me a second. I'm going to look up the UK numbers here in a minute. So the UK isn't doing a great job either. So who are we reopening to? Jamaica has allowed Americans to come in. So now they're seeing a surge of the virus that's being imported into their country. What's the point of reopening? To undo everything that we have done? To put us in a position where we have to go back in lockdown? Do you know the psychological effect? I love how people argue that, well, my kids need to go to summer camp and they need to go back to school and they need the normalcy of that. Trust me, I understand the impact that it's having on children because I've got a 3-year-old. And I know that she gets a little bit stir crazy, and we're doing our best to try to minimize the impact of this on her brain. But now that we can at least go out to a restaurant, we can freely go out during the day. You know, I can take her to the store with her mask on. And she's starting to understand the concept of, okay, I've got to wear my mask. Imagine going from some degree of freedom, level 2 suppression, to having to be locked down all over again simply because we were in a hurry to reopen. And I'm still not seeing the end result here. Like, why? Oh, I want to be able to come in and check on my property. How about your life? Is your life more valuable than that $1 million house that you have in East End? Are the lives of people in this country more valuable than all of the real estate in this country? Like, it can't be about money and property over lives. Jennifer says, you hear Trump saying that anyone can get tested. That's a flat out lie. I asked my doctor to test me. She said that only people that get tested are at least must have 3 symptoms. So I can't get tested because I want to know. I have to actually be sick. And this was a model, Jennifer, that I'm not surprised at, because initially when we first started testing, we had this criteria in place as well. And it was being pushed by the World Health Organization, in part because most countries did not have enough testing kits. So we had to source all of the stuff for the PCR, is it PCR testing? And so, yeah, I'm not surprised by that at all. And that is why every single time they report numbers like, okay, 15,300 cases, a minimum of 15,000, there are more positive people walking around that simply have not been tested. They're asymptomatic, and they probably, if they don't develop any symptoms, immediately will not be tested. Not only that, but people are being tested, and it's taken them 7 to 10 days now because of the outbreak and how mismanaged it has been. It is now taking them 7 to 10 days to even get test results back. So even if they have it, there's a delayed acknowledgement in the fact that they do have it, and they will be counted in those numbers. Larry says it reminds me of 9/11, when the people in the North Tower were told to stay at their desks, the blind leading the blind. Imagine how many lives could have been saved, right? Even Odd says, just say that you're in contact with someone who did. Remember, you can go to the free testing sites. Well, I don't know in the US kind of, what their protocol is for testing, but like I said, even if you can get a test right now, you are still having to wait 7 to 10 days to get your results. So even odd is saying, tell them you're a high risk because somebody else has it. That might work. Sean rightfully says Sweden, who was experimenting with herd immunity, now has more COVID-19 deaths per capita than neighboring countries like Norway, Finland, Denmark, etc. Their economy has also contracted more than those neighboring countries. Herd immunity is a big waste. I agree. They gain nothing from it at all, except more dead people. Good morning, Peter Gay. Apparently, Jennifer says in Maryland, Virginia, and DC, you have to get a doctor's order to get tested. Wow. And you have to have a temperature, a sore throat, or a cough. Yep. We know about this because, again, at the very early stages, you needed to have symptoms in Cayman to be tested as well. Go back and read the articles, folks. All the information is there. Good morning to the beautiful Perla and Sue. You guys are tuned in. Jennifer talks about the possibility of the virus mutating, which is already in discussion, rendering your immunity ineffective. Yes, common cold virus has over 20 different strains. That's why there's never going to be a cure for it. Good morning, Lizette Martinez. Buenos dias, Gadiel. Wants us to go check out a website that's into conspiracy theory. Yes, Jonathan, the almighty dollar is what's driving a lot of things. Alaric says we would need to have measures in place, testing prior to travel, testing at the airport. Health and human lives must come first. Well, here's the thing, though, with testing, right? Here's the thing with testing. Even if you test someone today, and I test negative, and say I have 48 hours then to travel, and I jump on a plane on Wednesday morning, that is a false sense of security. This does not work. Here's why. When they tested me today, I could have already been infected with the virus, but my viral load was so low at this particular point that I tested negative, sorry. That does not mean that I don't have it. So that does not mean that I am not coronavirus positive. That just means that I don't have enough of the virus in my system yet to test positive. Okay? So I come in on Wednesday. By Wednesday, I still have no symptoms. I don't have any temperature because, again, the viral load is slowly creeping up, but not there yet. What's the suggestion? That I get tested before I leave. I come back to your country or come into your country within 48 hours, say, for example. I get tested again. Even if you test me again, depending on the viral load, I may still test negative by Wednesday. That is why that 14-day incubation period that we've been quarantining people for is what is considered the cautious number, 14 days. It has been shown that it can actually be longer than that before someone would test positive for it. So people can go up to even 17 days. But the World Health Organization and organizations around the world have agreed that the 14-day marker was good enough if it's going to catch, say, 97%, 95% of the cases, right? So I come into the Cayman Islands on Wednesday. I go to Foster's to pick up some groceries for my $1 million house. I go to A.L. Thompson's because now I need to get a lock and a few other supplies. I go to, I don't even know where else you would go. The beach. I walk around Cayman Bay. I want to go to a few restaurants. I'm here for a week, 7 days now, going into next week. And then I start to get a little tickle in my throat, start to feel a little bit of a temperature coming on, and then I test positive. You can't even say at what point in my journey I actually got it. Was it when I came to Cayman? Was it at the airport traveling? Because airports are high risk areas. Was it before I left? And you cannot control those situations. Those situations will happen. And then you're going to waste a lot of money, resources, and time trying to contact trace back where I've been, what I've done, blah, blah, blah. They're talking about these biometric stickers, whatever, that they put, these patches that they put on you that will give them a real-time reading of every single thing that you're doing in terms of your body, gauges and whatever. So the second you get a temperature, it's going to notify them. That's fine up to a point. But is it already not too late? Because all you're doing is confirming that someone came into your country and eventually they got sick. What are you going to do about all of the potential people that I have now come in contact with and that I've now infected? Even if you have this biometric system that's apparently Dr. Lee, this patch he has on and he's wearing and he's testing it. You can't undo what is already done. That's my point. So I get, yes, contact tracing. And that's why right now they're like, to hell with contact tracing. If you have it, you have it. Let's try to treat it and contain it so that you don't spread it any further. Because contact tracing is useful information when you're trying to see if you've got pockets of like major contagion areas. So for example, the call center in Jamaica, contact tracing was an important exercise because they were able to ascertain that that particular facility has now infected 200 plus people of their over 700 or whatever. I think the numbers have gone up for them as well that have it. So at what point does any of this become worth the risk, right? The money that it's going to cost you to implement this biometrics testing system just so people can come in. There's even a financial consideration here. How much money are these people really going to be spending in the economy to offset the cost of an entire department having to be set up to trace these people? Because somebody's got to be watching the numbers. It's like prisoners. Remember we have a what's the ankle bracelet system called? A monitoring system for prisoners. And then some years back, we found out that apparently that doesn't work very well. That prisoners were able to take that off and the authorities had no idea. And they were all over the place. They would leave it at a location and then they'd come back and put it back on and resume. I think they discovered it wasn't working when a man who was supposed to be on bail was shot dead in somebody else's house for trying to conduct a robbery. And people are like, hold on a second. Wasn't this man on bail with an ankle bracelet? And then they had to admit a system that they paid millions of dollars for had some serious flaws in it that no one was the wiser about, apparently. So, Alaric, I want to know what measures can be put in place that would satisfy the discerning individual that opening our borders is really going to be worth it. People will make all sorts of promises like, oh no, I'm not going to go to the grocery store. I'm just going to come in and I'll have a quick, I'll just go straight to my hotel or straight to my facility or whatever. People lie, folks, every single day. And so they tell you all of those things so that they can get in. And then when they get in, it's a whole different cup of tea. Literally. So I don't trust it to work. I'm happy to see the results if they think that they can show me somewhere else in the world where it's actually working first. I wouldn't be keen to be the first to try it out here, though. I mean, prove to me where in other countries, because there are other Caribbean countries who are letting the Americans in, like I've said, Jamaica is one example. Show me where in Jamaica it's actually working for them. Because after the Jamaicans said, oh, yes, we're going to reopen our borders, then they had to backtrack and say, oops, by the way, we now want you to show up with a Sorry, folks, I managed to close out my stream here. Yeah, so, in Jamaica, it does not appear to be working very well for them. Yes, Jonathan, that was totally my mistake. I hit the wrong button and it went bloop. So I was saying that I would love to see an example anywhere in the world where this has actually been working for others. Alec is asking about private jets. This is a question, sorry, that we continually get. And unfortunately, there is no real answer for yet. There was no press conference on Friday for us to really get the details of whether or not this is a true rumor, because some people are saying that some private jets even now are being permitted into the country. But speaking of conspiracy theorists, did you guys get this message over the weekend? I got it at least twice, I think. And I'm sure I'll get it more as the day progresses, about how there's this WhatsApp message that's going around, how apparently there is a COVID tracker that has been installed on your phone. So the actual message says, let me read you the message so you can hear what the actual message says. So the actual message read, I doubt if you know that a COVID-19 sensor has been inserted, and they have inserted in quotes, secretly into every phone. Apparently, when everyone was having phone disruption, and that's in quote as well, which I don't know why, but earlier this week, they were adding COVID-19 tracker to our phones. If you have an Android phone, go under settings and then look for Google settings, and it's there. If you're using an iPhone, go under settings and private, then health. It's there, but not yet functional. The app can notify you if you're near someone who has COVID who has reported having COVID-19, check and confirm. So the bizarre thing about this message, first of all, is who was having phone problems, phone disruption earlier in the week. I didn't have any phone disruption problems, so I wasn't quite sure what that part of it was about. But then people start to think, oh yeah, was there a moment in time when I had poor internet? Well, that's kind of the norm in the Cayman Islands, so I don't know if that's a phone disruption. But I did not have any, to my knowledge, any phone disruption, so I don't know what that means. And it talks about the fact that it has silently been inserted into your phone, but then it implies that it's actually an app. So here's the real deal with this situation. Both Apple and Google have jointly built. Oh, sorry. This is what the message says. So it's talking about the COVID-19 tracking system that Apple and Google have jointly built to enable exposure notification in both Android and iPhones. And I mean, they actually told us that they were doing this. So I don't know why people now feel like this is some kind of conspiracy that, oh, we didn't know anything about it. Actually, we did. Apple mentioned it weeks ago, if not maybe even a month or more. So this has nothing to do with a tracker being installed to track your location. So it's kind of one of those messages where like it's partially true, but not quite what it's implying. So here's what we know. The message is half truth, as both Apple and Google are working on the COVID-19 contact tracing solution. So what the government has been trying to do, contact tracing, the tech companies have said, everybody has a cell phone. We could do a contact tracing app. And that will allow people, like if you have it, to say, okay, I have it, and I've been at these locations, because you've already got a GPS built in to your phone. So you can turn off GPS systems. You can activate them specific per apps. So sometimes Facebook wants to track your locations. You can turn that off. You can turn it off for Google Maps even. A lot of people will then figure out when they turn it off, if you ever lose your phone, you probably would have wished that you'd left it on, right? So they are working on a contact tracing solution, and it would be app-based. However, an app isn't installed on your phone without your permission. So there's a UK fact-checking organization called Full Fact that you can certainly check out. And there are others who've addressed this issue as well. But if you have an Android device and you go into that, there is a new service in your Google settings menu that is meant for COVID-19 exposure notifications. But if you tap on the service, you'll find that Google hasn't installed any new apps on your phone silently. In fact, you need to participate or opt in to turn on this available COVID-19 exposure notification. There's various governments that are also trying to build something similar, although they should probably just leave it to the tech companies. So they want to build these participating apps where basically it'll give them an idea of where you've been and what you've been exposed to. So remember the kid I was talking about at the beginning of the show, 30 years old? He went to a COVID party because they all thought COVID-19 is a hoax. So he specifically went to a party to see if he could get infected with COVID-19. He died over the weekend. And his deathbed words were basically that I thought it was a hoax, but looks like I was wrong. Kind of sad. 30 years old, life over because you're a little bit stupid. So iPhone added the COVID-19 exposure logging option to iOS 13.5 last month. But that also doesn't mean that an app or service has been silently installed in your device. So you can't enable the COVID-19 exposure notification until you have a particular app installed on your phone. So this is what we know so far. Both Apple and Google have provided the base framework on their iOS and Android platforms to enable a COVID-19 exposure notification app. But that's all they've done so far. There's no app there. It's just the framework to eventually allow for an app. So they do have plans to try to do some sort of coronavirus related tracing. without even requiring a dedicated app. It's something, again, that you would opt into. If you didn't want it, then you don't want it. And the idea is to make it a little bit easier to know who has it, who doesn't have it, and where they're actually located. So I'm going to post this link for you guys to read for yourselves. Once someone sends it to you now, claiming that, there's this conspiracy afoot, you can share that with them. Alric, there's supposed to be no exemption whatsoever for private jets. The Premier answered that question months ago. He said that private and commercial planes are all subjected to the same rules, and there should be no one that is being allowed in. If anyone has any confirmation to the contrary, by all means, let us know. Corrine says, I'm not going to the gym, no hairdressers, no restaurants, nothing. I have a 70-year-old mother and I'm back to work, and that's enough risk I am taking. Speaking of being back to work, over the weekend, despite all this stuff that's happening in the US, can you believe that Disney World reopened over the weekend? This is what I'm telling you when I say that there's something drastically wrong with some people. Reopening? Like, seriously? Yes, they have reopened. I don't know what to tell you, except, like I said, the Americans just don't care. Not only did they reopen, but there were actually people in line to go to an amusement park. Trump administration pushing for schools to reopen, even with these record infections. There have been camps around the US. There was one, I forget which state that was, over 83 persons infected, including kids, the campers themselves, and the workers. There's an article here that talks about how video and footage and photos show Brazil's president defied health guidelines before testing positive for the coronavirus, ... and after. So there's no telling how many people he has now infected. So he's been ignoring it. There's a video footage of him here shaking a military person's hand. No mask, no gloves, no sanitizers, nothing. He did everything he could to downplay it, apparently, telling his people that they should return to normal. This was for months. He went through crowds of supporters, describing it nothing. He said, this article says he repeatedly described it as nothing more than a little flu. Sounds familiar? Trump was doing the same thing. It's not a big deal. By Easter, he said, we'll be reopened. We'll be all in churches and celebrating. Easter has come and gone, folks. It's the middle of summer. And he was like, no big deal. Most of us are going to be fine. Now they have over how many dead? Brazil is now experiencing the world's second worst coronavirus outbreak. 1.8 million people infected, over 70,000 dead. And so now the president has tested positive himself. And the Washington Post has actually analyzed hundreds of videos and photos of him to retrace his steps just in the past 2 weeks before he reported symptoms on July the 5th. Again, experts believe symptoms may appear anywhere from 2 to 14 days after exposure to the virus. On June the 23rd, A judge ordered him to wear a mask when in public spaces in Brasilia and the surrounding federal district. On the 27th, he visited the town of Araguari. I think that's how it's pronounced. I don't speak Portuguese, but hopefully that's close enough. Several photos and videos from that footage show him without a mask, interacting with crowds. 108 palace employees tested positive for the coronavirus on the 3rd. July the 4th, he attended a July the 4th party at the residence of U.S. Ambassador to Brazil. My God. Photos show the two men unmasked, standing shoulder to shoulder. On the 7th, he had a small news conference. Reporters were all clustered together. And that's when he announced that he was tested positive. And during that press conference and during that announcement, he took his mask off. People just don't get it, folks. They're just not getting it. So it says here that the video evidence shows that not only did he meet with far more people than his official schedule suggests, because now they're trying to claim, oh, well, it's not really that bad. But most of the time, he wasn't wearing a mask, and he was walking around shaking people's hands. Not good. All right, folks, I'm going to take a quick commercial break. And we will be right back after these messages. Yeah, I'm going to read some of your comments when we come back as well. So just give me a few minutes. I feel like I need to actually eat something. Like I really feel like I'm very, all of a sudden, kind of a little bit weak. So some mornings I do feel like I probably should eat in the mornings. So when we come back, let's talk a little bit about the Sister Islands reopening, the iguana that was killed over the weekend, and a few other noteworthy things that happened as part of our weekend update. So we will be right back after these messages.
Miracle Brokers is back. That's right. We're fully reopened and back to work. Our agents are here to serve you with all of your packing and shipping needs. Need to move? Don't worry. Give us a call today. Collect a package, shipping around the world, or straight to Cayman? You got it. Give us a call on 949-5989. Collection by personalized appointment only, where our dedicated agents are on standby to personally assist you. Don't forget to wear your mask, maintain social distancing, and one person per appointment. Check us out at miraclebrokers.com today. All right, folks, I'm back. Just feeling like literally all of a sudden, like I don't know if it's like my blood sugar or whatever has just like dropped. I'm feeling a little hot and palmy and the AC is on, so I grabbed an apple. I think I'm going to be fine, but I'm doing the show standing up, so sometimes I think that that's a little taxing when you haven't had anything to eat as well in the mornings. So
Let's work through it. Thank you for your messages. I see some of you messaging me on WhatsApp. Rich and famous escaping USA to come in here. Hopefully not. So over the weekend, there was a bit of really sad news as it relates to this little creature here. A blue iguana was run over by a vehicle sadly. It was killed. He has been, there is a breeding program here, and he's part of that program. And he's actually been on the release side of things for at least 8 years. So he survived in the wild for 8 years until this weekend. This is so sad. And it looks like, based on the tire tracks and other bits of information from the scene, that number one, he was eating his dinner, or I guess it was afternoon, so lunch maybe, because they found the little fella with grass in his mouth. And they also saw that the tire marks were headed right for him. So it looks like he was deliberately hit. And what they believe happened is that someone probably just thought he was a common iguana, and unfortunately ran the little thing over. Now, I don't know why people want to run over regular iguanas anyway, but the blue iguana is endemic to Grand Cayman. And in other words, it's only found here. We are very unique in this regard. It's an endangered species. And it's actually against the law to kill them or to harm them in any way. So if this person's found out, they could be facing some charges under the conservation laws. We haven't seen iguanas in a while because they were doing a very good job of culling them. I think because of the COVID lockdown, I've seen a few more, but they're not as bad as they used to be. But even when I would see them in the middle of the street, I'm not going to purposely run them over. Well, that's exactly what someone did. And instead of killing a regular green common iguana that were imported in from Honduras and that have bred like rats and rabbits, they're everywhere. They instead hit this blue iguana. So the National Trust, excuse me, my eating on the show. I just felt like I needed to bring out my sugar or something. So I'm just having a quick apple. So yeah, the poor iguana was killed, and the National Trust and the Blue Conservation Facebook page posted about it, and they were obviously very upset by it. And they're asking people to please be cautious and don't just purposely kill an iguana because you think it's a green iguana. I've always kind of wondered this. Even the people who are culling iguanas, How do they know when they see an iguana that it's the green iguana and not the other one, not the blue iguana from a distance? Can you really see that well until after you shot the iguana and then you go, oops, it was a blue iguana. So I don't know. It's a sad situation. In terms of other news, the DVDL reopens today. So if you need to get your driver's licensing sorted out, tests don't begin until next week, by the way. But vehicular inspections and so on, they're fully reopened. However, they are encouraging people to take advantage of the online options that are still available, e-services, because they don't want to be inundated with hundreds of people this week if they can help it. And I can tell you, people have been doing everything online. You can, prepare to have the vehicle transferred, just use the Dropbox system. You can renew your license online. You can register a vehicle online. There are tons of available options to you. So Miss Darlene from the UK, thank you so much for tuning in. She said that she believes this virus is airborne, and you're probably 100% correct. We have talked a little bit about that last week, actually. And all of the evidence appears to be pointing in that direction. That the virus is very much airborne. Travel to the sister islands. Hey, Cayman Brac. And Little Cayman, if you have missed them, good news. You can travel to the sister islands. Lord have mercy. Here, CMR brings it to you breaking. Here's a picture of the licensing department at 7:30 this morning, folks. Give me a second. Let me pull it up. The same thing I was just saying. It's like psychic powers. I just tuned in to check my messages real quick. Because you got to keep up with the messages. And I see a message came in at 7:38 that said licensing department at 7:30 this morning. My God. Folks, you do know you can do most of this stuff online, right? It is not necessary to rush out to the licensing department today. No, sir. Look at the lines. And they don't look like they're 6 feet apart to me either. Folks, you're going to be there all day long. Waiting in line. Wasting your entire day when most of you could probably get this done via e-services, or even wait another week or two. I'm sure it's probably not even all that urgent. West Bay, I think, opens up tomorrow for their regional clinic, licensing department, I should say. So there you go. If you're going today, that's what you're going to be in for. Sister Island travel, like I was just saying, is now open. You can go to the sister island after being tested for COVID. And again, this whole testing thing is a little bit interesting, but nonetheless, the sister islands have fared very well. And the whole coronavirus situation. So as we continue to see, I think we've gone over 10 days without any positive results. Travel is now reopened to Little Cayman. So you have to notify the travel time website. So you go there online and there's some form that you need to fill out. Your proposed travel and the address of residence. You must arrange for voluntary testing of the residence at the proposed address if you're staying in a private residence. In other words, if you're going to stay with your sister, brother, whatever, they have to be open to being tested. If someone in that household tests positive for the virus, you have to provide an alternative address and information relating to persons staying at that address. If you cannot provide this address and information, you cannot travel to Grand Cayman. So these are people coming in. But now we can go in any direction. I think it almost doesn't matter what direction you're going. This probably applies, although it says Grand Cayman. If you're trying to stay for more than 3 nights, you'll be tested for the virus no earlier than 48 hours prior to your departure. If you're staying for 3 nights or less, you shall not be required to be tested for the virus. Okay. No boats allowed yet, so you can't go into Little Cayman or Cayman Brac by boat. Now, in terms of what boating restrictions, generally speaking, are in place, you can now use a boat for any reason, so leisure, fishing, whatever. No more than 10 persons on board. Grand Cayman boats are not allowed to conduct any boating activities in any of the wildlife interaction areas or zones. Those zones include Starfish Point, Rum Point, Stingray City, or the Sandbar. That is still in place before, so up until July the 19th, which is next Sunday. Yes. So almost another week. So commercial vessels who are licensed to operate in the zone can go with no more than 10 persons on board. So you would already have to have an existing commercial license, obviously, to allow you into the wildlife interaction zone. No more than 10 persons on board. You cannot maneuver the commercial vehicle to congregate with other personal vessels or commercial vessels. That would mean that there's more than 10 persons gathered. Do not rent any scuba or snorkeling equipment to any customer for diving purposes, training purposes, it doesn't matter. Dive tanks are fine, but anything else is a no. All right, folks. So this is what continues to be in place as we speak. I'm just having a quick look to see if there's anything else pressing in terms of, because the regulations changed. They came into effect yesterday. So there were some new regulations that people needed to be aware of. So the regulations were amended. They came into effect, Friday, the 10th of July. I think I'm going to end the show a little bit early today. Here's another news story that came up. It was very, very interesting. On Thursday after 6 o'clock, we get a tip saying, hey, did you hear about this arrest that took place at, what's the name of the plaza again? I always forget the name of this plaza. Where Kentucky Fried Chicken is in Westbury Road. Baytown. Some individuals were carrying on fraudulent activity at Baytown, one of the electronic stores there. So they were trying to use some credit cards, it seems, that didn't belong to them. And they got caught. It doesn't appear it's their first time. The police confirmed the arrest and basically said they're now in police custody. They are individuals on work permits. The clerk at the business became suspicious because they were actually victimized last week by some fraudulent activity. And so they at least this batch got caught. Speaking of fraudsters, check out this dude. He's Nigerian, living the most fabulous life ever, private jets and the works. And he was arrested in grand style over the weekend. Him, along with, I think it was 11 other conspirators, because they were living a lavish lifestyle. Listen to this. Apparently he loved to, his name is Hush Puppy. That's the name that he goes by. And he was always flaunting a very lavish lifestyle on social media of luxury cars, private jets. He was all over his Instagram and Facebook feeds, and I guess Twitter and God knows what else, talking about what a fabulous lifestyle he lived. Check him out here in front of his Rolls Royces, not one, but multiple cars, multiple luxury vehicles, living the most in his Versace robe with gold trim. The dude was living it large and posting it all over social media for everyone to see. And it turns out, listen to how crazy this is. He has 2.5 million Instagram followers. His name is Ramoun Abbas. He's Nigerian. And he went by the name of Ray Hush Puppy. He lived and flaunted a lavish lifestyle of private jets, designer clothes, and luxury cars. He boarded helicopters from his Dubai waterfront apartment, walked around with shopping bags from Gucci, Versace, and Fendi. I'm pleased to say that I've not owned any of those. I don't even think I've ever owned a Fendi bag. I just don't have the money to waste if I had it. But sometimes we like a little status item, but this guy took it to the next level. Here he is on one of those luxury shopping trips. Check this out. Louis Vuitton bag. So he's going to the Louis store, man. I tell you, the dude is living an amazing lifestyle. But the question became how? And he got arrested this weekend. So on social media, he would be seen posting a video of himself tossing a wad of cash like confetti. He claims that he was a real estate developer, but a federal affidavit alleged his extravagant lifestyle was financed through hacking schemes that stole millions of dollars from major companies in the United States and Europe. And his flamboyant post left a digital trail of evidence that investigators used to link him to his crime, the affidavit says. So yes, last month, the United Arab Emirates investigators swooped into his Dubai apartment, arrested him, and handed him over to FBI agents who flew him to Chicago on July the 2nd. In the coming weeks, he's supposed to be transferred to Los Angeles to face accusations of conspiring to launder hundreds of millions of dollars through cyber crime schemes. They confiscated $41 million, folks. Wow. And 13 luxury cars. What a hot mess. This dude lived an opulent lifestyle. By all standards, he lived in the exclusive Palazzo Versace in Dubai. Claims that he worked with co-conspirators and they were arrested, at least 11 of them. $41 million in cash, 13 luxury cars worth $6.8 million, phone and computer evidence. They uncovered email addresses of nearly 2 million possible victims on phones, computers, and hard drives. And they say that he was a major key player in a large transnational conspiracy. He was living an opulent lifestyle in another country while allegedly providing safe havens for stolen money around the world. And he was just a little bit too much on social media, so he was posting everything. On Snapchat, he called himself the billionaire Gucci master. And he posted this. Started out my day having sushi down at Nobu in Monte Carlo. Mess with him. Then decided to take a helicopter to have facials at the Christian Dior spa in Paris. Excuse moi. Then ended my day by having champagne in Gucci. He would show photos of himself with different models of Bentley, Ferrari, Mercedes, Rolls-Royce, and it included the hashtag all mine. Other photos and posts show him rubbing elbows with international sports stars and other celebrities. The irony of it is some of them probably would have been victimized by the same man. Usa? Isn't it crazy though? Like, I've never understood. This has got to be the earmarks of a narcissist. Why is it? And we see, we have some narcissists right here in Cayman who do the same thing, right? So why is it that when people commit these crimes and do all this sort of stuff, why do they have to flaunt it? It's like they're wishing to get caught. Because apparently the FBI used a lot of his social media posts to confirm certain things about him, like his date of birth, right? To confirm his actual identity. So from his Instagram page, they were able to get an email address and phone number that was saved to those accounts for security purposes. They were then able to link that information to phone numbers and financial transactions of some of his co-conspirators. The email account also contained emails with attachments relating to wire transfers and large dollar values. His Apple and Snapchat records provided information that helped investigators, again, confirm his identity and address some communications with other suspects. Even his Instagram birthday celebration photos provided key information. So on a post displayed a birthday cake topped with a Fendi logo, miniature image of him surrounded by shopping bags. And they used that post, investigators, to verify his date of birth on a previous US visa application. Wow. Well, you flaunt it for the world to see. Why not? What's he being accused of? Listen to these shenanigans. Federal documents detailed how a paralegal at a New York law firm wired nearly $1 million, $923,000, meant for a client's real estate refinancing to a bank account controlled by him and his co-conspirators. The paralegal had received fraudulent wire instructions after sending an email to what appeared to be a bank email address, but was later identified as a spoofed email address. Wow. They conspired to launder $14.7 million from a foreign financial institution last year. There was another allegation about a Romanian bank account that they had that was used for large amounts. And he also had a Dubai bank account that could be used to deposit money from victims in the United States. Conspiring to steal $124 million for an unnamed English Premier League soccer club. It's not clear if the attempt was successful. So there you have it. Crazy, right? So whether the fraudsters are small ones here in Cayman seeking to defraud local businesses, or big people like this dude in his Louis Vuitton blankie, pretending to read Forbes Asia magazine in a private jet, the lifestyle of the wannabe rich and famous. He lived it for a minute anyway. There he is, Versace, custom design, hush puppy robe. Wow. All off of the backs of other people who are trying to work hard for their money. What a mess. Morna says he can wear them in prison. I doubt that. Sandra says, good morning, Sandy. Cayman needs to start investigating and rating some of these people on island who are living very lavish lifestyles, building enormous homes, businesses, etc., while holding menial jobs. What a mess. We've heard of some stories here for sure. And you know what's amazing is that there are a few Caymanians who've been involved in drugs and money laundering back in the 80s and maybe even the 70s. They started to get, things started to change a bit in the 90s after the war on drugs, but our own people were arrested and involved or indicted or suspected to be involved in this type of activity. And some of them have never spent a day in jail. Or if they have, it was very menial, to say the least. So, Sandra, who knows if he's linked to Cayman? I wouldn't doubt it. A lot of money flows through this country. Anything is possible. We have it right here. We have politicians that get certain contracts because of all sorts of shenanigans. You'd be surprised. That's why they want to get into politics. It's not even about MLA salary for most of them, because once they get in, they get these business connections that allow them to reap benefits and contracts for years to come. They know what businesses to get into. And then they get in bed with large property owners on island, and because of their connections, a lot of these business owners and businesses will give them contracts. Sometimes you wonder what they do, but their contracts are like consulting contracts. And all that means is they have enough connections to make stuff happen. So whether it's waste management on this island, there's a few people who've gotten contracts in relation to that were former MLAs and stuff. You'd be surprised. There's one MLA, I'm not going to call his name, from a particular district that's definitely not Town. Well, I shouldn't exclude any district, but when this particular person was in office, all the politicians and other people said that they were so good at brokering certain deals that they had a nickname for him. God, I forget what the nickname is now. But basically, it was like every time he went to the table, even as a government elected official, his hand was out. Talk to me about what I'm getting first out of this deal. What cut, what percentage of this? If you get this government contract, if we secure this for you, where's my handout? And so a lot of politicians get into the business of politics for the future benefits and the future contracts and so on that they will get. And then on top of that, we, the people, are paying them a salary as well. What a hot mess, as I would say. Yes, Sue, we got a lot of them here. I don't know if they're any worse than this dude, because this dude was living like the most opulent lifestyle ever. But, it takes a narcissist, in my opinion, to be engaged in this type of behavior. Like, this is just, it's so over the top. It's just crazy. That's all I can tell you. Very crazy. So listen to what Jamaica has implemented. Beginning July the 15th, which is on Wednesday, all non-business travelers 12 years of age and over from Arizona, Florida, New York, and Texas in the US will be required to upload a negative COVID-19 PCR test result from a College of American Pathologists, that's CAP, accredited medical laboratory. The date of the test must be within 10 days of the arrival date in order to obtain travel or authorization. So, in the US, in Jamaica, you need to get travel or authorization to go in, and you pre-apply for that, right? So now they're saying all non-business travelers. Well, this is the point I was making earlier, is they weren't doing this initially. So the horse is already out of the gate, and you kind of can't pull it back now. So they've seen a direct increase in their numbers as a result of opening their borders. But as I've said, even this whole thing about test results and 10 days and whatever, 10 days is a long time. So that doesn't give me much comfort that you're letting people into the country who are not infected. Maybe it helps a little bit, but I don't know. Folks, we actually made it to the full time of the show today. I was feeling a little bit, I think once I started eating my apple, I got one little piece of my apple left. I'm going to finish that here in a minute. It brought back up my sugar level or whatever was going on. Could have just been hungry. I'm trying to remember what I ate last night. Oh, I think I had a piece of pizza last night. Not the best diet in the world. This morning, I think I will have a good breakfast though, not just an apple. Something that's going to stick to my ribs, as my aunt would say. Aunt Lottie's pearls of wisdom just says, she always used to say, breakfast, eat breakfast. And I was the worst at it, especially when I was in university. Oh my God. I would go until like 3 o'clock in the day sometimes and not have had a bite to eat. And then your blood sugar drops and you start to feel a little lightheaded. But she always used to say, breakfast is your most important meal of the day. Gives you the fuel that you need to get started and to get your day underway. So I do believe her. Didn't always follow her good advice, but I definitely believe that breakfast should be a priority. And so today I've got a physio appointment and I'm going to make breakfast a priority at some point. I'm going to get me a nice breakfast. You know what I love? Big shout out to the guys who are at Bluestone Manor, I think it's called. Is it Bluestone Manor? Am I making up their name? Bluestone Cafe. They're in town. Bluestone Lane, not Manor. They make a mean avocado smash. So basically, it's just like a piece of sourdough bread, smashed avocado, just an avocado spread, and you can get it with an egg for a little bit of protein. And man, I tell you, that is so simple, but so delicious. So great combination there. I think next week I might be hearing some updates on my trial, the Matthew Leslie trial. I don't quite know yet. So yeah. That's what it is, folks. We'll hear how that goes. I will be telling you guys, you'll be the first to know. So I'll make sure to let you know what date that is. Big shout out to our friends at Miracle Brokers. Look at me. I got my Miracle Brokers cup. Can you guys see that? Woohoo. Nice. Because you guys know I do try to drink water in the mornings at least. So got my water cup. That's it, folks. That's all she wrote. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else I'm forgetting to tell you guys today. If you were planning on going to the licensing department, might I recommend that you actually don't do that. Wait until next week if it's nothing urgent. Yeah, okay, that's good. We are all done here, folks. Please have a safe day. Be safe on the roads because as more and more persons open up, we had quite a bit of rain over the weekend. And I don't know what it is about license plates these days that they just don't seem to be put on very well. But they're always falling off. Like literally by the A.L. Thompson's roundabout, I saw, I saw a license plate there that was about to fall off. And I'm thinking, are people just not, is it the new license plates that are the issue? And they're not just screwing them on properly? There was an entire bumper that was lost. This was Saturday when we had all that rain. By coming into the, what's it called? Ocean Club, like that roundabout that they're working on right there. The Christy Tomlinson sponsored roundabout. There's an entire bumper in the road with the license plate and the bumper. So I don't know how that fell off, but we had quite a bit of rain this weekend on Saturday in particular. The airport was flooded. The areas like, I think Windsor Park had flooding. That's a hot spot. Randite Gardens had flooding. But it doesn't take much for certain residential areas in the Cayman Islands to flood. So there was that. And then there was some outages with some telecom companies. So yeah, it was just kind of a bit of a crazy day. Yes, Sue, it was very, very stormy for a few hours there. And of course, I had to run a few errands and that. I was just like, oh, let me get back home. I don't mind stormy weather if I'm home and I'm indoors. I can storm all at once. But when you have to go out in it, it's not much fun. Paula, thank you for tuning in. You have a blessed day as well. Sue, Trinice, all of you have a wonderful day. Thank you for tuning in. Did you guys see my latest? I got to show you this. I think you might actually like this. This is my latest little, I put this together yesterday. I love playing around with when I have time, some of the graphic stuff that my team puts together for me. And then I can add on a little something to it. So check this one out, right, that I did. So big shout out to EFX Graphics. They've been doing some work for us. Check out Randy over there. He can help you out with any of your graphics needs, design-wise. And I had another designer do my little character. I think you guys saw this one. This is my little caricature here. And this photo is actually an older photo, I should say, of when I had my original talk show, which was Straight Talks. I gave him a photo from that to then do this based off of. But I think more or less I look the same. And then I put together this. Check this out. Yeah, that's people wanting more of Cayman Mall Road. Birthday shout outs to Kenneth Bryan. Kenneth celebrated his 40th birthday yesterday. And like I said, he's actually going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. So please make sure that you tune in for that. We're going to be talking about a number of different things, including the domestic partnership bill, which is something we haven't yet talked about on the show, but we're going to start doing that here in short order. It's a matter of educating people, and there's a lot of different sections to the bill. So we're going to try to go through some of those and explore those. And basically, the domestic partnership bill is trying to give same-sex couples some equal footing in law without still allowing them to get married. And I mean, the interesting thing is a lot of church members said, no, it was the whole institute of marriage that was sacred. And as of this weekend, they already started circulating a petition against the domestic partnership bill. So it's like their scale of acceptability keeps changing. The bottom line is the Christian community in this country does not like gay and lesbian people, and they don't want them to have any rights, whether it's domestic partnership or marriage. They are saying no. But at first, because the push was for marriage, it was like, no, we're against that because a marriage is defined as between a man and a woman only. And that is ordained, and they came up with all kinds of arguments, despite the fact that there's actually evidence to show that the concept of marriages existed way before the Bible even. So the Bible isn't what made marriages sacred in any way. But we'll have those discussions because it does get very, very interesting. And I'm very much aware of the fact that a lot of you have extremely strong views on this. So Sue's birthday is tomorrow. Sue, we'll make sure to give you a shout out. So thank you. I'm glad you guys enjoy that. Sue says that she loves that one. Beverly says, nice look. Paula says, I love it. And so we got lots of birthdays to celebrate. Fancy Anderson just celebrated a birthday last week. Charles Clifford celebrated a birthday last week. So we got a lot of July babies. And of course, both my daughter and I are in August. We're like almost a week apart. I think a little bit more than a week. She's the 9th and I'm the 18th of August. So 9 days apart. And yeah, so I'll see you guys in the morning. Please be safe and stay tuned to make sure that you are here for Kenneth Bryan to see what is on Kenneth's mind.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings. Miracle Brokers is back. That's right. We're fully reopened and back to work. Our agents are here to serve you with all of your packing and shipping needs. Need to move? Don't worry. Give us a call today. Collect a package, shipping around the world, or straight to Cayman? You got it. Give us a call on 949-5989. Collection by personalized appointment only, where our dedicated agents are on standby to personally assist you. Don't forget to wear your mask, maintain social distancing, and one person per appointment. Check us out at miraclebrokers.com today.